moose moss to munch. Are the moose grazing? Very good. Up at Lake Winnebango one day they were munching, just strolling along and enjoying their munching, for the moose moss that day was especially fine, when it happened that Thidwick, the last moose in line, saw a bingle bug sitting. That bug called out, So the bingle bug picked out a nice, easy seat, and the moose went on looking for moose moss to eat. Well, an hour or so later, the bug heard a squeak, and he heard the small voice of a tree spider speak. And he started a web on the horn to the right. While the spider was spinning, he heard a gay song, and a fresh little zinazoo bird came along. He stopped, and he stared, and he said,
"Well, well, well, what a smart place to build. What a great place to dwell. I've been living on trees ever since I was born. But here's something new. Why not live on a horn? If there's room there for two, then there's room there for three." Oh, there's plenty of room on a horn and tree.
Thidwick stopped walking. What was all that talking? These guests had caught Thidwick the moose unawares.
Hey.
The zinazoo said, and began yanking hairs out of poor Thidwick's head. And he pulled out exactly 204.
900, 202, 203, 204. Don't worry. Don't worry, you can always go more.
Then he dozed off to sleep in his fine moose hair nest.
For a host above all must be nice to his guests. Besides, now it's getting quite late in the day, and surely tomorrow they're all going to go away.
But alas, the next morning, the sun's early light brought to Thidwick's sad eyes a most unwelcome sight.
Meet my husband. I was married last night.
Oh, my dear. What a fine place to dwell. By the way, I might add, you're looking quite swell.
And perhaps, by the way, I should mention to you that his uncle is coming to live with us too. You're a very fine host, so I assumed you'd be willing.
Then the uncle, a woodpecker, started in drilling.
We don't want you around. You can't stay with us.
And they all turned their backs and walked off with a snort. Now the big friendless moose walked alone and forlorn, with 4 great big woodpecker holes in his horn.
What holes? What holes to hide nothing? Mind if I try 'em? They're yours! Get right inside 'em! This big-hearted moose was a public hotel. Bring your nuts!
Wait, not A, not A, not A, not B.
Bring your wife! Bring your children as well!
This is a fine place, no ifs, ands, or buts. And I'm glad that you decided to bring out the nuts.
And the very next thing the poor animal knew, a bobcat, and Trundle, were living there too. Now, what was that big-hearted moose going to do? Well, what would you do if it happened to you?
Well, I couldn't say scam, because it wouldn't be right. I couldn't shout scram, because that's not polite. A host has to put up with all kind of stuff. For a host above all must be nice to his guests. So I'll try hard to smile. And I'll look so sweet, and I'll go right on looking for moose moss to eat.
But now it was winter, and that wasn't easy. For moose moss gets scarce when the weather gets freezy. The food was soon gone on the far northern shore of Lake Winnebago. There just wasn't no more. And all Thidwick's friends swam away in a bunch, swam away in a bunch, swam away in a bunch, to the south of the lake where there's moose moss to munch. He watched the herd leaving, and then Thidwick knew. He'd starve if he stayed here. He'd have to go too. He stepped in the water, and oh, what a fuss.
Stop! You can't do this to us! These waters are our home, and you've no right to take our home to the far distant side of the lake.
I say with a lump in my throat.
We're fair. We'll decide by a vote. All those in favor of going say aye. All those in favor of staying say nay. Aye. Nay!
And when it was done, Thidwick had lost 11-1.
We win by a very large score.
So poor starving Thidwick climbed back on the shore. Then do you know what those pests did? They asked in some more. They asked in a fox, who jumped in from the trees. They asked in some mice, and they asked in some fleas. Fleas are entering. There you go. Oh, okay. They asked a big bear. And then, if you please, came a swarm of 362 bees. And then came something that made his heart freeze. Get that moose, Thidwick heard a voice call. We must get that head for Mrs. Barrier's wall. Thidwick took to his heels with that load on his head with 500